I wasn't born into noise. I was raised by silence, the kind that doesn't just surround you, it shapes you. No lullabies, no cheers, no comforting voices to ease the storm inside a child's chest. Just the sound of a ticking clock and the weight of emptiness pressing against every wall. When other kids heard bedtime stories, I heard the echo of my own breath. My first friend was solitude, and my first teacher was pain. While others were being told they were special, I was learning how to disappear. But there's a strength in that, a twisted kind of power in not needing applause. In the void, I learned to listen deeper, not to words, but to truth. And the truth is, silence doesn't break you. It builds you. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, like a wet blanket soaked in sorrow and draped over every moment. I learned early that quiet can scream louder than words, especially when it's filled with absence. It wasn't just the lack of sound, it was the lack of presence, of love, of being seen. I'd sit at the dinner table with a fork in one hand and questions in the other, but no one to answer them. And so I swallowed more than just food. I swallowed confusion, fear, and the ache of invisibility. People think children are fragile, but they don't realize how dangerous quiet resilience can be. I stopped asking for affection and started seeking meaning. I began to understand that silence was a language, one most people couldn't speak, without breaking. But I became fluent in it. I made it my native tongue. Silence showed me things the world tried to hide. It exposed the fake smiles, the shallow comfort, the way people wrap truth in noise to distract from their own emptiness. It made me watch, not just look. Observe, not just see. And when you're raised in that kind of stillness, you notice everything. The slight shift in tone, the body language that betrays someone's lie, the hesitation that exposes their weakness. I became a student of humanity's flaws because I had nothing to distract me. Most people are drunk on noise. I was sober on stillness. I didn't crave entertainment. I craved understanding. While others danced to the rhythm of approval, I was learning to walk my own beat, one carved into the silence like a scar across time. That scar didn't fade. It defined me. And yet, there's something pure in that kind of upbringing, a brutal honesty. The world didn't hand me comfort, so I didn't expect it. I didn't grow with illusions. I grew with the raw, unfiltered taste of reality. When the storm came, I didn't panic. I welcomed it, because I was raised inside one. And when you've built your identity in silence, chaos becomes your natural habitat. I didn't look for the light. I became it. I learned to glow in the dark, to walk through fire and not flinch. I didn't need noise to announce me. I let my presence do that. A presence molded not by love, but by the lack of it. Now, when people speak of their past with fondness, I don't envy them. I respect their journey, but I cherish mine. Because being raised by silence taught me something school never could. How to create power from nothing. It's easy to become strong when people cheer you on. It's legendary to become strong when no one even notices. My strength isn't loud, but it's undeniable. It doesn't seek attention. It commands it. Every quiet night, every ignored moment, every tear shed in private built this version of me, not soft but unshakable. I wasn't nurtured, I was forged, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. You grow up fast when no one's watching, no celebrations, no support, just you and the raw reality that no one is coming to save you. I didn't get trophies for trying or hugs for failing. I got cold rooms and colder stares, but every absence became a lesson in self-reliance. When you're raised by silence, you don't learn to cry for help, you learn to become help. I had to fight my own demons, while kids my age were still afraid of the dark. My darkness had a name, neglect, but that neglect sharpened my edges, made me aware, made me dangerous, because when love doesn't show up, you show up for yourself. And that changes everything. There's no room for fantasy when reality slaps you awake every morning. You learn to cook your own food, fight your own battles, and patch your own wounds. Birthdays came and went like passing shadows. No balloons, no cake, just the cold reminder that you're on your own. But that kind of loneliness, it refines you. It forces you to evolve or vanish. And I chose to evolve. I made my pain productive. I used rejection as reason and silence as strategy. I became my own mentor, my own protector. Because when no one watches, no one interrupts your becoming. I wasn't taught how to love myself. I had to invent the formula. Piece by piece, I rewired the belief that I wasn't enough. I chiseled away the shame others carved into me. I took my trauma and made it tools. Tools for resilience, tools for discipline, tools for building a life they said I'd never have. People think adversity is unfair, but I call it an invitation to rise without applause, to grow without validation. That's the kind of growth that sticks. That's the kind of growth that lasts when storms come, because it was born in the middle of one. Kids I grew up around were coddled, given what they wanted, celebrated for just existing. But I was different. I didn't get anything handed to me. I had to claw for progress. Every step forward came with blood, sweat, and rejection. But here's the twist. I'm glad for it, because ease creates entitlement, and I have none. What I have is earned. What I carry is real. It's not just success I'm after, it's substance. And silence made sure I got that in every layer of my soul. Now I move through life like a ghost with a mission. I don't seek attention. I seek evolution. I'm not flashy, I'm focused. While others want to be seen, I want to become undeniable. The silence that once haunted me now guides me. It's my compass, my edge, my clarity. Because when you're raised without a safety net, you learn how to walk tightropes others fear. You don't just survive. You learn how to command the air beneath your feet. Stepping into the world was like walking into a storm of empty noise. Everyone shouting, trying to be seen, desperate to be heard, but saying nothing. I didn't fit in. I didn't want to. I watched them fake smiles and chase likes while I built discipline in silence. Their comfort made them soft. My suffering made me solid. When people see me now, they think I'm cold. No, I'm just controlled. I don't speak to be heard. I speak to make the world shut up and listen. I saw a generation addicted to applause, performing like circus clowns for digital crumbs. They scream louder, hoping the void will validate them, mistaking attention for affection. But attention fades, and when the crowd leaves, they're left with nothing but echoes. I learned early that external noise couldn't fill internal silence, so I stopped looking outward and started building inward. While they refreshed their feeds, I refreshed my mindset. While they posted for approval, I practiced mental discipline. The world taught me to sell a brand. I chose to build a backbone. It's easy to play a role when the lights are on, but who are you when they turn off? I found out, and I liked the answer. People confuse connectivity with connection. They scroll through strangers' lives while ignoring the wreckage of their own. Everyone's in touch, yet completely out of reach. I didn't want part of that illusion. I'd rather sit in a room with my thoughts than in a crowd with a mask. They thought I was anti-social. No, I was anti-bullshit. Because I know what it's like to look happy but feel hollow. That's what the world teaches you. How to perform pain, not how to process it. But I never wanted to perform. I wanted to transform. And that doesn't come from noise. It comes from facing the silence you're running from. Fitting in means folding yourself small enough to fit in their fragile idea of comfort. I refused. The cost of fitting in was my freedom, and that was too high a price. I've watched people trade authenticity for applause, soul for spotlight, and conviction for clicks. That's not connection. That's consumption. They consume each other's attention like parasites starving for identity. Me, I'd rather walk alone with purpose than join the herd headed nowhere. I chose solitude, not because I hated people, but because I loved truth. In silence, I could hear it whisper. In noise, it gets drowned. And once you taste truth, you'll never settle for noise again. Now, when I walk into a room, I don't need to announce myself. My energy does it for me. I move like a man who's made peace with pain and turned down the volume of the world. My silence isn't absence, it's authority. Because when you've been raised in the absence of noise, you don't chase attention, you command respect. People feel it, they may not understand it, but they respect it. I don't play their game. I build my own battlefield, where only the disciplined survive. And in that world, silence isn't weakness, it's warrior code. You don't yell. When you're deadly, you whisper and the world listens. The pain as fuel. I don't resent the silence. I honor it, because without it, I wouldn't have the fire I have now. Every scar, every ignored cry, every quiet meal alone, that became my fuel. People think motivation is loud, full of hype. But real power, it's silent. It's that 4 a.m. grind, that lonely run, that decision to keep going when no one cares. Silence doesn't give you permission, it gives you command. Pain doesn't weaken you, it trains you. It's not your cheerleaders that shape you, it's your demons. Pain wasn't just fuel, it was my ritual. I didn't numb it, I studied it. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every empty dinner table was a rep in my spiritual gym. I didn't just survive it, I used it. Others ran from pain like it was a curse. I treated it like a mentor. I let it teach me things school never could. Patience, grit, emotional armor. Pain showed me how fragile comfort really is. It exposed the lies behind positive vibes only. You don't grow by dodging pain. You grow by dancing with it. And now, I don't fear pain, I respect it, like you would a god. People ask me how I stay so relentless. Simple, I became the fire. Not the flame that flickers in the wind, but the inferno that swallows excuses. My pain didn't make me a victim. It turned me into a vessel for purpose. I used to ask why life hurt me so bad. Now I understand it was carving space inside me for something greater. While others waited for motivation, I let my agony wake me up. I weaponized my suffering, turned breakdowns into blueprints. I no longer avoid the fire, I walk through it with a grin that says, this is where I was born. The fire didn't burn me, it branded me. Pain taught me emotional discipline. Something most people fear. Everyone wants to feel good. Me, I want to feel unbreakable. I didn't chase happiness. I chased capacity, the ability to carry what others drop. My strength wasn't built in joy. It was hammered out in agony and shaped by solitude. I didn't read books about toughness. I lived it, bled it, earned it. You don't become elite by riding waves. You become elite by learning to swim with a broken arm and a smile. Pain taught me how to stay composed while others crack. Because when you're trained by fire, nothing lukewarm can shake you. Looking back, I don't just honor the pain. I'm grateful for it. Without it, I'd be soft. I'd be comfortable. I'd be average. Pain gave me perspective, and that's a currency the soft will never understand. It taught me to cherish silence, respect stillness, and move with intention. I don't seek revenge on the past. I give it gratitude for making me exactly who I needed to be. The broken boy became a dangerous man, not because he healed, but because he used the damage. Pain didn't steal my light, it forged it. And now, I shine different. While they played, I was building. While they slept, I was studying. While they laughed, I was bleeding in silence. Every failure, every heartbreak, I stacked like bricks. I was crafting something in the dark. A warrior. The kind of man who doesn't need praise because he's already validated by the battle. You don't need a crowd when your mission is sacred. I wasn't made by comfort. I was forged in fire and quiet. I didn't grow with love. I grew with resistance. And now I carry that silence like armor. I didn't just build with ambition. I built with pain as the blueprint. Every betrayal became a measurement, every lonely night a cornerstone. I didn't need instructions because suffering taught me to engineer my own resurrection. My dreams weren't fantasies. They were blueprints scratched onto my bones. While they were guided by mentors, I was guided by the ghosts of every version of me that refused to die. I didn't have someone to tell me I could, so I became someone who never needed permission. And when I stumbled, I didn't stay down. I took notes. Failure didn't shatter me, it sculpted me. Each time the world told me no, I carved a yes out of the silence. That's the thing about being raised by silence. You learn to construct cathedrals out of chaos. Success didn't begin with applause. It began with repetition in isolation. I practiced until my hands bled, until my lungs burned, until the silence became my soundtrack. The world only sees the final product. They don't see the nights. I stared at the ceiling, eyes wide open, wondering if I was wasting my life chasing something no one understood. I mastered what couldn't be seen: discipline, resilience, mental armor, the muscles they can't measure. While they posted selfies, I was rewriting my identity in the mirror with swollen knuckles and locked jaw. And when doubt came knocking, I didn't answer. I trained harder. No coach, no crowd, just me versus me. The dark wasn't a prison. It was a crucible. And every ounce of progress was bought with blood and silence. What they called obsession, I called devotion. I wasn't chasing clout. I was chasing the man I swore I'd become. The grind wasn't about riches or recognition. It was about redemption. I wanted to look in the mirror and finally see someone who deserved to win. That's why I kept going when I had nothing left. When sleep begged me to stop, I chose one more rep, one more page, one more sacrifice, because I knew no one is coming to save me. The grind wasn't optional, it was sacred, a ritual in suffering, a commitment to the higher version of myself buried beneath years of silence and scars. Now, when I walk, I carry the weight of everything I've built, not on my shoulders, but in my spirit. People ask where my confidence comes from. It comes from knowing I never took a shortcut, that I built myself in the silence, brick by bloody brick, that no one handed me anything. I earned this, every inch of progress, every ounce of strength. My armor doesn't shine. It's dented, scraped, and soaked in the storms I survived, and I wear it with pride, because when you've been raised by silence, you don't crave validation. You command respect through presence, not words. That's what makes me different. That's what makes me dangerous. Breaking the chains. Eventually, I stopped asking, why me? And started asking, what now? The past doesn't get to define me. It gets to train me. I broke every mental chain silence tried to wrap around my soul. I refused to be a victim. I turned the quiet into my clarity and the pain into my purpose. Most people are afraid to be alone with themselves. Me, that's where I'm most dangerous. That's where I plan. That's where I conquer. You can't break a man who's been broken and rebuilt by choice. I used to scream into the void, begging it to answer. But one day I realized the voice I needed was my own. The silence wasn't empty, it was waiting for me to stop blaming and start building. I stopped crying out and started speaking inward. I asked myself the hard questions, the ones that cut deep and left marks. What do you stand for? What are you willing to bleed for? What are you hiding from? And when the answers came, they weren't pretty, but they were honest. That honesty became my hammer, and I used it to shatter every limiting belief I ever swallowed. The old me died when I stopped seeking rescue and started leading myself. Pain used to be my enemy. Now it's my compass. It points me toward the next level. I no longer run from it. I walk into it, stare it down, and extract wisdom. Pain taught me more than comfort ever could. It taught me that the chains weren't just around me. They were within me. Thoughts that said you can't, memories that whispered you'll fail, voices of people long gone still echoing, you're not enough. I didn't break those chains gently. I tore them off with bloodied fists and relentless effort. Not overnight, not in a moment of glory, but brick by brutal brick. That's the truth people don't want to hear. Transformation is messy, violent, and unforgiving. But if you endure it, you walk out unbreakable. I stopped running from the fire and became it. If you look at me now, you don't see a survivor. You see the flames that forged me, the intensity, the hunger, the unwavering eyes. That's what silence made. Not a boy crying for help, but a man who burns through obstacles. I don't need pep talks. I don't need comfort. I need challenge. Because every time I break through another mental wall, I own more of myself. And that's the mission now. Total ownership. No excuses, no blame, just cold, hard accountability. When you've wrestled with your own soul and survived, nothing outside you can touch you. You are untouchable from the inside out. Now I walk with purpose, not because I have all the answers, but because I've earned my path. I don't preach from a pedestal. I speak from the trenches, from the cold nights, the lonely meals, the unspoken pain. I carry the blueprint for breaking chains, and I give it to anyone ready to take the leap. But don't come to me soft. Come ready to bleed. Come ready to abandon comfort, to silence your fears, to awaken the monster and the monk inside you. Because this road isn't for everyone, only the few who choose fire over fantasy. I don't just walk free now, I pave roads for others. Because when you break the chains, you're called to show others how to break theirs. This world is too loud, too soft. Everybody wants results but avoids the war. I made peace with my war. I became it. My silence wasn't weakness, it was my transformation chamber. In the stillness, I became ruthless with excuses and loyal, only to discipline. I don't flinch anymore. I don't beg for validation. I walk like I've already won, because I have, not against the world, but against who I used to be. And that's the only war that matters. The real war isn't fought on battlefields. It's fought behind closed doors. It's you versus the voice in your head that whispers, you're not enough. Every morning I go to war with the version of me that wants to sleep in, that wants comfort, that wants to quit. And I win, not with motivation, but with discipline carved from despair. You see, I didn't wake up one day powerful. I was broken first. I had to dig through the wreckage of who I was to find the warrior I could become. That's why I don't envy anyone's journey. You don't know what they had to burn to get there. My strength wasn't given, it was taken from silence, from rejection, from years of fighting battles nobody saw. I didn't learn to fight by swinging fists. I learned by surviving every day I wanted to give up. My war wasn't external, it was internal, invisible to others, but brutal as hell. Depression tried to wrap chains around my mind. Self-doubt tried to drown me in excuses. But I kept standing, scarred but still breathing, because something inside me refused to die quietly. And every day I chose to fight back. I killed the version of me that would have settled. Now I wear my silence like armor. It's not a wound, it's a weapon. And when the world tries to get loud, I just go quieter, deeper, sharper, because the war inside has taught me more than any applause ever could. The worst kind of enemy is the one living in your own skin. That inner critic who knows your fears, your past, your flaws, and uses them like blades. But I silenced him not by avoiding the fight, but by beating him every single day. I outworked him. I outlasted him. And now, he works for me. That's what people don't understand. The inner war never stops. But when you learn to command it, you become unshakable. You walk through chaos like a ghost, untouched, because you've already faced worse in your own soul. You become your own general, your own army. And that's why I walk like I've already won, because I own the battlefield within. This war taught me something most people will never learn. Peace isn't the absence of battle, it's the mastery of it. I stopped looking for rest in quiet places and started building strength in loud ones. My discipline became louder than my doubt. My purpose became louder than my pain. And eventually, my silence, once a void, became a voice that speaks volumes without ever needing to shout. People ask me how I stay so focused, so unbothered. It's simple. I made the war my home. And when you're built in battle, the noise of the world becomes background static. You don't chase peace anymore. You carry it into war. For those like me, if you're like me, raised in silence, neglected, forgotten, I see you. I know that quiet isn't peace, it's pressure. But pressure makes diamonds. Your loneliness isn't a curse, it's a forge. Stop trying to be understood. Start becoming undeniable. Let your silence speak through your work. Let your pain teach. Your discipline, your rejection teach you power. The world might never clap for you, but one day it'll fear what you've become. So don't run from the silence. Rise in it, embrace it, and become what they said you never would. If you've ever sat in a room full of people and still felt invisible, I know that feeling. If you've ever screamed into a pillow because you didn't want the world to hear your breakdown, I've been there. Silence isn't just the absence of sound. It's the weight of being unseen, unheard, unwanted. But I promise you that silence is where your strength is born. Because while they laughed and leaned on others, you learned how to stand alone. That isolation carved something unbreakable in you. It made you resourceful, aware, dangerously self-reliant. And when the time comes to rise, you won't need a crowd. You'll already have the clarity of someone who was trained in darkness. You don't need to fit in. You were built to stand out, alone, yes, but powerful beyond measure. This world is not designed for people like us, people who felt forgotten but refused to be erased. So we build silently. We grind when no one's watching. We cry in silence and bleed behind closed doors, but we don't stop. Because we're not chasing attention, we're chasing evolution. Every person who told you that you wouldn't make it, they were wrong. They weren't underestimating you. They were revealing their own limitations. Don't become bitter, become better. The most lethal move you can make is to become undeniable. Not by talking louder, but by showing up every damn day with purpose. Let them talk. You just build. You don't need validation. You need vision. You don't need a round of applause. You need a reason to keep moving when it hurts like hell. Every time they didn't show up for you, show up for yourself. Every time they didn't believe in you, double down on your own belief. You've already survived the worst. Now it's time to thrive in it. Use the pain, use the silence. Let it all become a part of your craft, your code, your character. When you walk into a room, don't speak. Let your presence say everything. They refused to hear when you were down. You weren't born to beg. You were born to break limits. So if you're one of us, the quiet ones, the broken ones, the built-from-scratch warriors, understand this. You are not alone. There's an entire legion of silent killers rising behind closed doors. We don't post every win. We don't share every wound. But we're coming, one disciplined step at a time. And when we arrive, there won't be noise, just results. We were underestimated because we were unseen. But the fire we've built in silence will be felt across the world. So stand tall, even if you stand. Alone, the silence raised us, and now let the silence introduce us. The warrior's awakening. Now I walk through life like a warrior painted in silence. I don't need permission to be great. I already earned that in the shadows. My voice may be quiet, but my presence is a storm. I'm not loud because I don't have to be. My work screams. My scars speak. Every moment alone was a message. Become so strong. Your silence commands attention, raised by silence, but I'm not quiet anymore. I speak through legacy, through grit, through every damn thing I build, and now I raise warriors too. Sometimes I still hear the silence, not as an enemy, but as a familiar hum in the back of my mind. It's the echo of who I used to be, the ghost of every night I sat in the dark, wondering if I'd ever matter. That version of me still walks beside me, not as weakness, but as a reminder. He reminds me why I fight, why I refuse to slow down, why quitting has never been an option. I don't run from him, I honor him. He kept going when there was no one. Clapping, no one watching. He bled in silence so I could roar in strength. He didn't have armor, but he had will, and that's what saved me. Not noise, not praise, but raw, stubborn willpower. So when the silence returns, I let it sit next to me, because that's where it all began. When you raise yourself, you learn how to raise others. Not through soft words, but through living proof. I don't preach motivation, I embody it. I teach through the calloused hands, the unshakable focus, and the fire that never dies. The men I raise, they've seen hell. They've slept next to depression, eaten with doubt, wrestled with anger. But I show them how to weaponize that, how to take that internal chaos and forge it into clarity. I teach them that silence isn't their weakness, it's their secret weapon, that their trauma isn't their tombstone, it's their origin story. I don't promise ease, I promise war. But on the other side of that war is something untouchable, self-respect. And in a world full of soft distractions, that's the rarest thing you can own. Legacy isn't built in crowds, it's built in consistency. In the decisions no one sees, in the moments when giving up whispers, sweet, lies and you answer back with rage. My legacy is carved in discipline. Every day I showed up tired, angry, hurt, but still showed up. And not just for me, for the future me, for the man I'm becoming, for the men behind me watching silently. That's what they don't tell you. Legacy isn't inherited, it's earned in the trenches. It's not about being remembered, it's about being undeniable. When I'm gone, my silence will still speak through every warrior I helped awaken. My words may fade, but my work, that echoes forever. That's the kind of immortality I fight for. Now silence doesn't haunt me. It follows me like a loyal weapon. In the chaos of the world, I wear it like armor, wield it like a sword. Where others are distracted by noise, I find clarity in stillness. Where others break under pressure, I sharpen. I walk into rooms and say nothing, and still the room shifts. Because presence born from pain doesn't beg to be noticed, it commands it. I've learned to master the quiet, to hear what others are too afraid to face in themselves. I became fluent in the language of solitude, and now I use that fluency to cut through the lies the world feeds the weak. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You need to be anchored. And silence, when trained, becomes the strongest anchor there is.